In this economic environment we have right now, we cannot direct the wind. What I like to say is we have to adjust to sails. Everything is changing nowadays, and it keeps changing all the time. And just like an airplane with a rudder or a ship, you have to change the sails and adapt to what's going on. Talking now basically to the students. What you should do, if I had to do it over, I'd do it the same way. You have to aim for what you want to do and what you enjoy. It's not so much the money. I'm not picking on any profession, but I wouldn't want to be a foot doctor looking at feet all the time just for the money. Okay? You should aim for what you want to do. Way back, when I was basically brought up in the construction business and projects and things like that, my whole life I've always liked automobiles, airplanes, motorcycles, things like that. And my goal all the way back was to get to that particular position in life where those were the things I'm doing, where when I go into work in the morning now, which I still do, and I hate to say I am 75, it's like somebody else going in to play golf. I like what I'm doing every day. So it was cars, airplanes, and motorcycles. When I first got started to get into that, the best way to do it was to have a little repair shop, which I started. I was still doing construction work and stuff to keep going. The first thing I got was a small motorcycle shop, and then I started working on foreign cars. Now this was back in the 60s sometime, but I was selling Ramblers, and a lot of you people back there don't know even what a Rambler is. But I was selling these against Mustangs and Camaros, and I'm sure you know what they are. So it wasn't a very exciting part, but at least I was starting to get in there with the cars. 1968, with my repair shop, we were working on foreign cars. I got a call from an old white-haired fellow. When I got over there, pretty older fellow in the old Route 2A, he's sitting by the side of the road with this Mercedes-Benz that's broken down. And inside this car is a pretty cute-looking chick, which he told me was his secretary, who's been up here to visit her mother. He said, "My God," he says, "why don't they have a Mercedes-Benz dealer here?" I said, "Well, that, excuse me, effing company, I send them letters and they don't even answer them back." He reaches in his pocket and he brings out a card, and he's Heinz Hoppe, president of Mercedes-Benz in North America. So there is some luck when I'm talking about changing the sales. So I figured, well, okay, so the lady got back in the car and I got his car working for him, and 2 weeks later, I hadn't heard anything. I get a box of parts in for Mercedes-Benz, and I said, well, geez, how am I going to pay for those? But so I called down there and I got a hold of Mr. Heinz Hoppe, and he says, those are your parts for now, and you can go from there. So I said, fine. I opened up the parts, and they're all parts for his car. So I said, okay. The next thing I know, I get a sign. And the next thing I know, I'm selling these Ramblers for $19.95, and a truckload of Mercedes-Benz show up. And these cars are $4,000. And let me tell you, that really choked me. So he said, called again, and he says, don't worry, my boy, just make sure my car keeps running in Stowe, Vermont. My secretary's mother is still very sick. Okay, now let's get back to Champlain here. I got the business going, and next thing I know, I'm broke again. So I decided I was going to do, since I didn't go to college, I went to a Mercedes-Benz, had a business management course, and I went to it, and they taught me some stuff, and all of a sudden, things started going a lot better. I needed mechanics in those days, now we call them technicians. So I went to find my mechanics, and we brought them in the dealership out of the vocational trade schools. I have a very soft spot for these trade schools because a lot of them, their parents can't afford to send them to college, and we get them into trades and they turn into fine people, which I'm sure you will too. So I'm still with those. But here I am with cars now all of a sudden. And I got vocational students, and I got cars that got carburetors and distributors and things, which the winds change again. So we got to change the sails here. 73, one night I'm down in my shop. Somebody pounds on the door, and I go to the door, and here's this little guy, and he says, "My name, I'm Mr. Skip Baker from American Honda. I understand you applied to be a Honda dealer." I said, "Yeah, well, what are you doing here at 8 o'clock at night?" He says, "Well, I've been coming down through, and all these other big dealerships, they all applied for it too. The first place I hit, the guy says, we're not going to sell Japanese cars after the Second World War." So he said I moved down to the next place. Another big dealer, still on Sheldon Road. And he ran into the same thing there. So he ends up, he sees this place of mine, and I was down in the basement there. He knocks on the door and he says, "You Mr. DuBrul?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, you're my Honda dealer." I said, "What do you mean?" So he told me the story about that. So that's where we got Honda. But now again, the winds change. Okay, Honda comes in. They've got electronic fuel injection, CD ignitions, all kind of new things. My mechanics can't adapt to this. So the reason why is because the trade school are still using carburetors and distributors. So I went and got some stuff from the factories, some fuel injection units and stuff, and put them into the trade school so that the mechanics could be training on what they need. And now nobody even knows what a carburetor is or anything like that. At the same time, you go to reading, writing, and arithmetic. When we started back then in '68, you had to, maybe if you were lucky, you had a calculator, but there were no computers, no fax machines, none of those things. They all came in over the years. But what would happen with my vocational student, this guy could read because he could read Penthouse or Hot Rod. Okay? But he couldn't write. So he became a good technician when we wanted to move him up to be a service writer, advisor, or service manager. He was too embarrassed to write in front of the people because he couldn't write. Now again, the wind changes because nowadays with computers, this kid doesn't have to write. So I'm back on top again with this. So this is part of our vocational training, which is really. I do like to put stuff back into the community, but I like to do it like this with the students. And I love working with students, and whenever I can help, I will. Right now, with this economic environment the way it is, you guys and ladies are all starting when times are down. And I think that's an excellent time to start, because for the last 20 years, everything has been getting better, 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 better. And I think the time to start is when it's down, 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 because you can climb and you'll turn into a lot better working class. Now this school here is the Champlain, is the greatest school for that type of thing. I've been with them a long time. The job placement and everything, and the people that are associated, the professors, that I know quite a few of them are all wonderful people. So starting when times are bad is a good thing. And you got to dream and do what you want to do and keep reading. Reading, reading, reading. And remember, we can't direct the wind, but we can adjust the sails. So God bless America. Thank you.